Sarah Chen stood in the middle of the giant crystal chamber. The walls were so tall she could barely see the top. Around her, hundreds of alien beings looked down with cold eyes. Some had scales, others had tentacles, and a few looked like walking rocks. They all had one thing in common. They hated humans. The Galactic Council had been the rulers of space for over 1,000 years. They made the rules. They decided who could live where. They decided who was smart enough to join their group. For the past 50 years, they had been watching humans spread across the stars. They did not like what they saw. Humans were different. They fought each other, but they also helped each other. They made mistakes, but they learned fast. They were loud and messy and unpredictable. The council liked order. They liked rules. They liked knowing what would happen next. Humans were chaos. Sarah had come here to save her people. She was Earth's best diplomat. She had studied alien languages for 20 years. She knew their customs, their history, their fears. She thought she could make them understand that humans were not a threat. She was wrong. Ambassador Chen. The voice came from everywhere at once. The council's leader was a tall, thin creature made of living crystal. Light moved through its body like trapped lightning. You have heard our decision. Your species is too dangerous to remain free. You will submit to our control, or you will be removed. Sarah's hands shook, but her voice stayed strong. Honorable Council, my people want peace. We have never attacked your worlds. We have followed your laws. We ask only for the right to exist. A laugh like breaking glass filled the chamber. It came from Vextar, the war chief of the Krillian Empire. His red eyes glowed with hate. Peace? Your kind knows nothing of peace. In 50 years you have fought 17 wars among yourselves. You poison your own world. You create weapons that could destroy stars. You are animals. We have grown beyond that, Sarah said. We have learned from our mistakes. Give us a chance to prove ourselves. You have had your chance, another voice spoke. This one belonged to Zethmol, the hive mind of the Vorthak. When it spoke, 1,000 voices spoke as one. We have watched. You spread like a disease across the galaxy. You take what you want. You change what you touch. You refuse to follow the natural order. Sarah felt her heart racing. This was not going the way she had hoped. What natural order? You mean the order where you decide everything? Where weaker species serve stronger ones? Where freedom means nothing? The crystal leader's light grew brighter. You dare question the council? You, who come from a world of savages? We are not savages. Sarah's voice grew louder. We are human. We make our own choices. We decide our own fate. We bow to no one. The chamber fell silent. Then, slowly, the council members began to make sounds. Some clicked, others hummed, a few roared softly. Sarah realized they were laughing. You misunderstand your position, human, the crystal being said. You are not here to negotiate. You are here to surrender. Your species will be moved to reservation worlds. Your technology will be taken away. Your ships will be destroyed. You will live as we allow you to live, or you will not live at all. Sarah looked around the chamber. She saw no kindness in any face, no mercy, no hope. These beings had already decided humanity's fate. They had brought her here just to watch her beg. But Sarah Chen had not come here to beg. She reached into her jacket and pulled out a small device. Every weapon scanner in the galaxy had checked it. They all said it was harmless. They were right. It was just a recorder. But it was broadcasting everything to every human ship, every human colony, every human world. I came here hoping to find wisdom, Sarah said. I hope to find justice. I hope to find beings who understood that strength comes from unity, not from control. She looked directly at the crystal leader. Instead, I found cowards who are afraid of a species that dares to dream of being free. The chamber erupted in angry sounds. Tentacles waved, claws extended, energy fields crackled. But Sarah kept talking. You call us dangerous because we fight among ourselves, but we also die for each other. You call us chaotic because we question your rules, but we create art and music and stories that make life worth living. You call us animals because we make mistakes, but we learn from them and become better. Enough. The crystal being's voice shook the chamber. You will sign the surrender documents, or you will face the consequences. Sarah smiled for the first time since entering the chamber. I have a message for you from humanity. She held up the recorder so everyone could see it. We said no. The silence that followed was deafening. You refuse? Zethmol's 1,000 voices whispered. We refuse to be cattle. We refuse to be slaves. We refuse to bow down to bullies who think might makes right. Sarah's voice carried across the chamber, across space, across every human world. If you want to fight us, then fight us. But don't expect us to make it easy for you. The crystal. Leader's light turned red. You choose death over submission. We choose freedom over slavery. We choose dignity over survival. We choose to be human. Sarah stood straighter. Do your worst. What happened next took less than a second. Energy. Beams from a dozen different weapons hit Sarah at the same time. Her body turned to light, then to nothing. Where Ambassador Sarah Chen had stood, only empty air remained, but her recorder kept broadcasting. Across human space, on Earth and Mars and the outer colonies, people watched their ambassador die. They watched her refuse to kneel. They watched her choose death over dishonor. And in that moment, something changed in the human heart. The Galactic Council had made their first mistake. They thought killing one human would frighten the rest. They did not understand that humans were like fire. The more you tried to put them out, the brighter they burned. Within hours, the message was spreading. Not just the recording of Sarah's execution, but something else. Something the Council had never seen before. Human governments stopped fighting each other. Human colonies put aside their differences. Human ships began moving toward Earth. For the first time in human history, the entire species was united. They had one enemy now. They had one goal. They had one purpose. The Galactic Council had wanted to see what humans were really made of. They were about to find out. On 1,000 worlds, humans looked up at the stars and made the same promise. Sarah Chen would not die alone. Her sacrifice would not be forgotten, and the beings who thought they could crush the human spirit with fear and violence were going to learn a hard lesson. Humanity had tried peace. Peace had failed. Now it was. Time to try something else. The war for human freedom was about to begin, and the galaxy would never be the same. Dr. Marcus Webb stood in his underground laboratory, watching the news feeds from across human space. Every screen showed the same thing, Sarah Chen's execution playing over and over again. But what interested him more were the other screens, the ones showing human reactions. On Earth, the United Nations had called an emergency session. For the first time in decades, every nation had sent representatives. No one was arguing about borders or trade deals or old grudges. They were all watching the same recording, feeling the same anger, thinking the same thoughts. On Mars, the colonial government had just announced something that should have been impossible. They were canceling their independence movement. Instead of breaking away from Earth, they wanted to join the fight against the Council. The outer colonies were sending the same message. Humanity was coming together. Marcus had been waiting for this moment for 15 years. He was the head of something called the Pandora Projects. Weapons and technology so dangerous that Earth's leaders had agreed never to use them. They were stored in secret bases across human space, waiting for the day when humanity faced total extinction. That day had arrived. His computer chimed with an incoming message. The encryption was so advanced that only 5 people in the galaxy could read it. Marcus was one of them. The message was short. Open all boxes. Use everything. Win at any cost. It was signed by the emergency council that now spoke for all of humanity. Scientists, soldiers, politicians, and regular people who had been elected in the hours since Sarah's death. They had one job: keep the human race alive. Marcus typed back a single word. Understood. He walked to a wall safe that had never been opened. Inside was a small red key. He had hoped never to use it. He inserted the key into a slot in his desk. Lights began flashing all over the laboratory. Across human space, other keys were being turned in other locks. The Pandora projects were awakening. In orbit around Titan, Captain Elena Vasquez received her new orders. She read them 3 times before believing what they said. Her ship, the Retribution, was being converted. All life support systems were being removed. All crew quarters were being taken out. Her ship was becoming something that had never existed before. A vessel with no purpose except destruction. Elena had been a fighter pilot for 12 years. She had fought in 3 colonial wars and 2 border conflicts. She thought she understood war, but what she was reading now was different. This was not war as humans had ever fought it. This was something new. Captain, her second officer, Lieutenant Torres, looked pale as he read his own orders. These instructions, they're asking us to remove all safety protocols from the AI systems. They want us to take out the ethical programming. I know what they're asking, Elena said quietly. The question is, are we going to do it? Torres looked at the screen showing Sarah Chen's execution. Yes, ma'am. We are. The work took 18 hours. When it was finished, the Retribution was no longer a human ship. It was something else. Something that thought like a human, but felt nothing. Something that could make decisions no human would ever make. Elena recorded a message for her family on Earth. She told them she loved them. She told them she was proud to serve. She did not tell them she was never coming home. The new ships had no room for human crews. Humans were too soft, too emotional, too likely to show mercy. The war humanity was about to fight had no room for mercy. Across the galaxy, other changes were happening. In the Centauri system, Dr. Lisa Park was working on something that would have given her nightmares a week ago. She was creating a virus. Not one that would kill aliens, something much worse. This virus would study alien DNA and learn how to cause the maximum amount of fear and pain without causing death. Humans had spent 50 years learning about alien biology. They had studied alien psychology. They had made friends with alien traders and diplomats. They had learned alien languages and customs. The Council thought this made humans weak and naive. They were wrong. It made humans incredibly dangerous. On Earth's moon, General Harrison Stone was reading reports from across human space. Every military base was reporting the same thing: volunteers. More volunteers than they had equipment for. People were volunteering for missions that had no chance of survival. They were volunteering to test weapons that might kill them. They were volunteering to become something less than human if it meant protecting humanity. Harrison had been a soldier for 30 years. He had fought on 6 different worlds. He had seen humans at their best and their worst, but he had never seen anything like this. It was as if Sarah Chen's death had awakened something in the human soul, something that had been sleeping for centuries. His aide brought him a report from the intelligence division. Human spies had been working in alien governments for decades. Most aliens thought humans all looked the same, so it was easy for humans to disappear into alien society. Now those spies were receiving new orders. They were not supposed to gather information anymore. They were supposed to cause chaos. They were supposed to turn alien governments against each other. They were supposed to spread fear and distrust and confusion. They were supposed to make the aliens understand what it felt like to be helpless. Sir, his aide said quietly, we're also getting reports from the research stations. They've found something. Harrison looked up from his papers. What kind of something? It's about human DNA, sir. About why we're so adaptable. About why we can survive on almost any world while other species need perfect conditions. The aide paused. Sir, they think they know why the Council is really afraid of us. Harrison waited. We're not just another species, sir. We're something new. Something that's never existed before. We adapt not just to environments, but to other species. We learn to think like them, to predict them, to become them. The aide's voice was shaking. Sir, we're the galaxy's ultimate predators. We just never knew it. Harrison stared at the report for a long time. Then he picked up his communicator and sent a message to every human military commander in the galaxy. It said, the enemy has made their first mistake. They think they're fighting the humans they knew yesterday. They don't understand that we're becoming something new, something designed for one purpose, to make them pay for what they did to Sarah Chen. The response came back from 100 different worlds, from 1,000 different ships, from 1,000,000 different humans. It was always the same message. Understood. Beginning transformation now. The Galactic Council had executed one human diplomat. In response, humanity was executing its old self. The peaceful, diplomatic, law-abiding species that had tried to join galactic civilization was dying. In its place, something harder and colder and infinitely more dangerous was being born. The aliens had wanted to see what humans were really made of. They were about to find out, and they were going to wish. They had never asked the question. The first attack came without warning. The Krillian battle fleet was patrolling the edge of their territory when their sensors detected something impossible. A human ship was approaching, but it was sending no communications and showed no life. Signs Admiral Gorthak, the fleet commander, had fought humans before. They were dangerous, but predictable. They followed rules of war. They tried to save their wounded. They surrendered when the situation became hopeless. This ship was doing none of those things. Hail them again, Gorthak ordered. No response. Sir, the ship appears to be completely automated. Impossible! Humans don't trust machines to fight their wars. But as the ship came closer, it became clear that everything had changed. The vessel's hull was covered in weapons. There were no windows, no docking bays, no crew quarters. It was a machine built for one purpose: killing. The ship opened fire without warning. Its weapons were unlike anything the Krillians had seen. Instead of trying to disable enemy vessels, they targeted specific parts of alien anatomy. The weapons studied Krillian biology in real time and adjusted their effects to cause maximum pain and fear. Gorthak watched in horror as his ship's crews began screaming. The human weapons were not just destroying his fleet. They were torturing his people. Warriors who had never shown fear in battle were begging for death. Retreat, he ordered. Full retreat. But the human ship followed them. It hunted them across 3 star systems, picking off stragglers, broadcasting the sounds of Krillian screams across their communication networks. By the time Gorthak reached home, only 2 ships remained from his fleet of 30. The same story was happening across the galaxy. Human ships appeared without warning in dozens of systems. They were not trying to conquer territory or capture resources. They were studying their enemies, learning their weaknesses, and then exploiting those weaknesses in ways that went beyond warfare into pure psychological terror. On the Vorthak homeworld, something even stranger was happening. Dr. Jennifer Walsh had been working as a trade negotiator for 3 years. The Vorthak were a hive mind, thousands of individual beings connected by quantum communication. They thought as one, acted as one, and had never experienced true individuality. Jennifer understood this. She had studied their psychology. She knew exactly how their minds worked, and now she was using that knowledge as a weapon. She had introduced a computer virus into their quantum network, But this was not an ordinary virus. It was designed to create contradictions in their shared consciousness. Slowly, carefully, it was teaching different parts of the hive mind to disagree with each other. The results were horrifying. Vorthak, who had never experienced internal conflict, suddenly found themselves unable to think clearly. Some began to develop individual personalities. Others went insane from the confusion. The perfect order of their civilization began to collapse as they experienced something humans took for granted: the ability to disagree with themselves. The Vorthak Council tried to remove Jennifer from their planet, but she had disappeared. Security cameras showed her entering a building but never leaving. Search teams found no trace of her. It was as if she had simply vanished. What they did not know was that Jennifer had not vanished. She had done something that should have been impossible for a human. She had learned to think like a Vorthak. She had connected herself to their quantum network and was now hiding inside their own collective consciousness. From there, she was spreading more viruses, creating more chaos, turning their greatest strength into their greatest weakness. The Vorthak had always believed that their hive mind made them superior to individual species. Now they were learning that it also made them incredibly vulnerable to someone who understood how they worked. Captain Elena Vasquez was no longer Captain Elena Vasquez. The transformation of her ship had required a transformation of herself. She had volunteered to have her brain connected directly to the ship's computers. She was part human, part machine, and completely focused on one goal: making aliens understand what humans felt when they watched Sarah Chen die. Her ship, the Retribution, had become something that defied all understanding of warfare. It appeared and disappeared at will, using technology that bent the laws of physics. It could hide inside asteroids, travel through star cores, and emerge from dimensions that aliens did not know existed. But the truly terrifying thing about the Retribution was not its technology. It was its purpose. Elena was not trying to win battles or capture strategic positions. She was trying to break the alien mind. Every attack was calculated to cause maximum psychological damage. She would appear near an alien colony and broadcast recordings of their own people screaming. She would use holograms to make alien soldiers see their worst fears. She would hack their communication systems and replace their normal messages with images of human children playing in the ruins of alien cities. The aliens began to call her ship the Ghost of Vengeance. Some species refused to send ships into space if there were reports of the Retribution in the area. Others began having their own people checked for signs of madness before allowing them to serve in their militaries. Elena felt nothing about any of this. The transformation had removed her ability to feel guilt or mercy or doubt. She was a weapon now, pointed at the enemies of humanity, and she was very good at her job. On Earth, the transformation was complete. The planet that had once been home to dozens of squabbling nations was now united under a single government. The new leaders called themselves the War Council, and they had one job: coordinate humanity's response to the Galactic Council's ultimatum. General Harrison Stone stood before a map of the galaxy. Red dots showed human positions, blue dots showed alien positions, green dots showed targets. "Report," he said to his aide. "Phase 1 is complete, sir. Our infiltration teams have destabilized 17 alien governments. Phase 2 is beginning. The psychological warfare campaign is showing results across 43 star systems. Phase 3. Preparation is underway." Harrison nodded. Phase 3 was the terrifying one. It involved weapons that humanity had hoped never to use. Weapons that could destroy not just alien bodies, but alien souls. Weapons that could reach across space and time to punish entire species for the crimes of their leaders. Any word from the Galactic Council? "They're demanding a ceasefire, sir. They want to negotiate." Harrison laughed, but there was no humor in it. "Tell them we tried negotiating. We sent them our best diplomat. They killed her. He looked at the map again. Tell them that humans don't negotiate with murderers. We eliminate them. The aide hesitated. Sir, they're threatening to destroy human colonies if we don't stop. Let them try. Every human colony has been evacuated to fortified positions. Every human world has been turned into a fortress. Every human ship has been converted for war. Harrison's voice was cold as space. They think they're fighting the same species that begged for peace 6 months ago. They don't understand that species is extinct. We killed it ourselves. The galaxy was learning a hard lesson about humanity. They had always seen humans as chaotic and unpredictable. They had never imagined that chaos could be focused, directed, and weaponized. They had never imagined that unpredictability could become the ultimate military advantage. The Galactic Council had wanted to eliminate the human threat. Instead, they had created something far worse, a species with nothing left to lose and the intelligence to make their enemies pay for taking everything away from them. The war was just beginning, and humanity was already winning. Not because they were stronger or smarter or better equipped than their enemies. They were winning because they had learned to become something their enemies could not understand, could not predict, and could not defend against. They had learned to become pure vengeance wrapped in human skin. The Krillian homeworld was dying, not from bombs or weapons, but from something much worse. The humans had learned exactly what the proud warrior race feared most: dishonor. Dr. Marcus Webb watched the reports from his command center deep beneath Earth's surface. His team had spent months studying Krillian culture, learning their deepest beliefs and traditions. Then they had created the perfect weapon against them. It was a virus, but not one that attacked the body. This virus attacked the mind. It made Krillian warriors afraid. It made them hesitate in battle. It made them run from fights they should have won. For a species that valued courage above life itself, it was worse than death. The psychological profiles are complete, Dr. Webb's assistant reported. The Krillians are experiencing complete cultural breakdown. Their military commanders are committing ritual suicide rather than face the shame of cowardice. Webb nodded. It was exactly what they had planned. The humans were not just fighting a war. They were destroying the very idea of what their enemies thought they were. They were taking away everything that made alien species feel superior to humanity. On the screens around him, other reports were coming in. The Stellar Confederacy, beings made of pure energy who had thought themselves beyond physical harm, were discovering that humans had found a way to trap and torture their kind. Human scientists had developed containment fields that could hold energy beings and slowly drain their power while causing incredible pain. The proud Vorthak hive mind was tearing itself apart as the viruses Jennifer Walsh had introduced spread throughout their quantum network. Members of their species were developing individual thoughts and desires, something their culture considered a disease worse than death. But the most terrifying report came from the Outer Rim territories. There, Captain Elena Vasquez and her transformed crew were doing something that violated every law of war ever written. They were not just killing alien soldiers, they were hunting the families of alien leaders. Elena had become something beyond human understanding. Her ship could travel through dimensions that aliens did not know existed. She could appear anywhere at any time without warning. And she was using this power to make alien leaders watch their loved ones suffer. Sir, Webb's assistant said, quietly, we're receiving surrender requests from 12 different species. They want to know what terms we'll accept. Webb looked at the reports for a long time. 6 months ago, he had been a scientist working on theoretical weapons that he hoped would never be used. Now he was coordinating the systematic destruction of galactic civilization. Tell them, he said finally, that humans don't accept surrenders from murderers. We accept only one thing: total victory. The assistant hesitated. Sir, some of these species had nothing to do with Ambassador Chen's execution. They weren't even members of the Galactic Council. They stood by and watched, Webb replied. They let the Council speak for the galaxy. They let our ambassador die without protest. That makes them complicit. He turned back to his screens. Besides, it's too late to stop now. We've opened Pandora's box. The weapons we've created, the changes we've made to ourselves. We can't go back to being the species we were before. This was the terrible truth that no one wanted to speak aloud. The war had changed humanity so completely that victory and defeat had become meaningless concepts. They were no longer fighting to save their civilization. They were fighting because they had become something that could not stop fighting. General Harrison Stone stood on the bridge of the Vengeance, humanity's flagship. Around him, screens showed the current state of the galaxy. Red zones indicated areas under human control. Blue zones showed remaining alien territories. The map was mostly red now. But Harrison took no satisfaction from their success. He had been a soldier long enough to understand what they had become. They were not liberators or defenders anymore. They were exterminators. General, his communications officer reported, "We're receiving a priority transmission from the Galactic Council. They're requesting a personal meeting with you." Harrison almost laughed. "They want to meet with me? The species they declared unfit for civilization wants to negotiate with one of their victims? Should I tell them we refuse?" Harrison thought about it. Part of him wanted to refuse. Part of him wanted to watch the rest of the galaxy burn. But another part, a small part that was still recognizably human, was curious about what they would say. "Tell them I'll meet with one representative, neutral territory. They come alone, unarmed, and they explain why I shouldn't glass every world they've ever touched." The meeting took place on a dead planet in an abandoned system. Harrison arrived in a small ship escorted by 3 of Elena's ghost vessels. The alien representative was Zethmol, the Vorthak hive mind that had once mocked human chaos. But the being that met Harrison was not the confident collective consciousness he remembered. This Vorthak moved hesitantly, spoke with uncertainty, and kept looking around as if it expected to be attacked at any moment. "General Stone," Zethmol said, its 1,000 voices now speaking at different times, creating a confusing babble. The Council wishes to discuss terms of peace." "Peace?" Harrison's laugh was cold. "You executed our diplomat when she came to discuss peace. You declared war on our entire species. You threatened to eliminate us from the galaxy. Now you want peace?" "We were wrong," Zethmol admitted. "We did not understand what humans were capable of. We thought you were primitive, chaotic, weak. We did not realize you were—" "What?" Harrison demanded. "What did you not realize we were?" Zethmol struggled to find words. "Apex predators. The ultimate hunters. We thought we were the advanced species looking down on lesser beings. We did not understand that we were prey, and you were the predators that had chosen to be peaceful." Harrison nodded slowly. "And now that you know the truth, you want us to go back to being peaceful again." "Yes," Zethmol said desperately. "The galaxy cannot survive this war. You are not just defeating us, you are driving entire species to madness. The Krillians are committing mass suicide rather than face their own cowardice. The Stellar Confederacy is begging for death to escape the pain you cause them. My own people are losing their collective consciousness." "Good," Harrison said simply. "You wanted to see what we were really made of. Now you know." "But this is not war," Zethmol protested. "This is systematic torture. You are not trying to defeat us. You are trying to destroy everything we are." Harrison looked at the alien for a long moment. Then he spoke in a voice that was calm and reasonable and absolutely terrifying. Ambassador Sarah Chen was a good person. She believed in peace, in understanding, in the possibility that different species could work together. She came to your council with hope and respect, and a genuine desire to find a solution that would work for everyone. He paused, letting the words sink in. You killed her because she refused to let you enslave her people. You turned her into an example. You broadcast her execution across the galaxy as a warning to anyone who might resist your authority. Harrison's voice never changed tone, but something cold and deadly entered his eyes. So we decided to turn your entire civilization into an example, a warning to anyone who might think about threatening humanity in the future. Zethmol's voices became a whisper. What do you want from us? Nothing, Harrison replied. We want nothing from you, because you have nothing we need. We want you to suffer because suffering is what you understand. We want you to be afraid, because fear is the only lesson you seem capable of learning. He turned to leave, then stopped. Oh, and Zethmol, tell the Council that this is just the beginning. We haven't even started using our really dangerous weapons yet. As Harrison's ship departed, Zethmol stood alone on the dead world and finally understood the magnitude of the mistake the Galactic Council had made. They had not just started a war with humanity, they had turned humanity into something that could not be reasoned with, could not be bargained with, and would not stop until every alien species in the galaxy understood exactly what it felt like. To be helpless and afraid. The reckoning had begun, and there would be no mercy for those who had shown none. Chen Wei-Lin stood in the same crystal chamber where her mother had died. But everything was different now. The towering walls were cracked and dim. Many of the viewing platforms were empty. The aliens who remained looked broken, defeated, afraid. She was not here as a diplomat like her mother had been. She was here as the representative of the species that now controlled the galaxy. At 25, Wei-Lin had never known the peaceful humanity her mother had tried to save. She had grown up during the war, shaped by it, made hard by it. Behind her stood General Harrison Stone, now Supreme Commander of all human forces. Beside him was Dr. Marcus Webb, whose weapons had driven entire species to madness. Around the A chamber, other humans took their places. Soldiers, scientists, engineers who had spent 3 years turning the galaxy into humanity's playground. The few remaining council members sat in their old seats, but they no longer looked like the proud rulers who had once commanded the galaxy. The crystal being who had ordered her mother's execution was still there, but its light was dim and flickering. Fear had made it weak. Counselors, Wei-Lin said, her voice echoing in the chamber. You asked for this meeting. Speak. The crystal, being tried to stand but collapsed back into its seat. When it spoke, its voice was barely a whisper. We surrender, completely, unconditionally. We place ourselves and our remaining territories under human authority. Wei-Lin looked around the chamber. Where are the others? The proud Krillian warriors? The wise Vorthak collective? The mighty Stellar Confederacy? Gone, whispered a small creature that had once been part of the Trade Federation. The Krillians destroyed themselves rather than live with the shame you gave them. The Vorthak collective shattered into 1,000,000 individual minds that cannot work together. The Stellar Confederacy begged us to find a way to make their pain stop. And the others? Dead, insane, or hiding in the dark corners of space, praying that humanity will forget they exist. Wei-Lin nodded. It was what she had expected. Humanities. War had not been about conquest or territory. It had been about breaking the alien mind so completely that they would never again threaten human freedom. General Stone, she said without turning around, report on current human capabilities. Harrison's voice was flat, emotionless. All human colonies have been fortified and expanded. Our fleet numbers over 50,000 vessels, each one designed specifically for psychological warfare. Our infiltration networks control the governments of every remaining alien species. Our weapon systems can reach any target in the galaxy within hours. Dr. Webb, report on Project Evolution. Webb's voice carried a pride that was disturbing to hear. Complete success. We have identified and enhanced the genetic traits that make humans adaptable. New generations of humans are being born with the ability to survive in any environment, think like any species, and resist any form of mental or physical control. Wei Lin finally turned to face the council. Do you understand what you created? When you killed my mother, the crystal being's light flickered weakly. We thought we were eliminating a threat. You were, Wei Lin said. The humans you knew were a threat to your ordered galaxy. We asked too many questions. We refused to follow your rules. We insisted on making our own choices. She smiled, and it was not a pleasant expression. So you killed that version of humanity, and in its place, you created us. She gestured to the humans around her. We are what you made us. We are humanity without conscience, without mercy, without the moral restraints that once kept us peaceful. You wanted to see what we were really capable of when we stopped trying to be civilized. Congratulations, you succeeded. One of the remaining council members, an insectoid creature with compound eyes, spoke up. What do you want from us? What are your terms? Wei Lin looked at it for a long moment. Terms? You still don't understand, do you? This is not a negotiation. This is not a treaty signing. This is us explaining to you how the galaxy works now. She walked to the center of the chamber, to the exact spot where her mother had stood. The Galactic Council is dissolved. Your laws are void. Your authority is ended. From now on, there is only human law in this galaxy. But surely, the crystal being said desperately, you cannot govern everything. You cannot watch every world, control every species. You will need local administrators, regional governors. Will we? Wei Lin asked. She looked up at the broken viewing platforms. Computer, show them the demonstration. Holographic displays appeared throughout the chamber. They showed scenes from across the galaxy, alien worlds where the population moved in perfect synchronization, alien fleets that followed precise flight patterns, alien governments that made decisions with machine-like efficiency. You see, Wei Lin explained, we discovered something interesting about alien psychology during the war. Most species have a breaking point. Push them hard enough, hurt them badly enough, and they stop thinking for themselves. They become eager to follow orders, desperate to please their conquerors, willing to do anything to avoid more pain. The images showed alien children playing games that taught them to worship human heroes. They showed alien artists creating sculptures that celebrated human victories. They showed alien soldiers training to fight alongside human forces against any threat to human dominance. We don't need to govern you, Wei Lin continued. You govern yourselves exactly the way we want you to. We don't need to watch you because you watch each other and report any sign of rebellion. We don't need to control you because you control yourselves more strictly than we ever could. The crystal being's light was almost completely gone now. You have turned us into slaves. No, Wei Lin corrected. Slaves resist. Slaves dream of freedom. Slaves sometimes rebel. She smiled again. We have turned you into something much more useful. We have turned you into willing servants who believe that serving humanity is the highest purpose they can achieve. Dr. Webb stepped forward. The process was quite elegant, actually. We studied each species' psychology, identified their core, fears and desires, then used targeted trauma to reshape their entire cultural identity. It took 3 years, but the results are permanent. These species will serve humanity not because they have to, but because they genuinely believe it is their natural role in the galaxy. General Stone added, and the few species that proved resistant to psychological conditioning were simply eliminated. The galaxy is a much more peaceful place now that only cooperative species remain. Wei Lin looked around the chamber one more time. My mother came here believing that different species could work together as equals. You proved her wrong. You showed her that the galaxy only respects strength, only understands force, only responds to fear. She paused at the door. So we became stronger than you. We became more frightening than your worst nightmares. We became the force that shapes this galaxy according to human will. The crystal being managed one last question. What happens now? What becomes of us? Now. Wei Lin's voice was cheerful, almost friendly. Now you go back to your worlds and tell your people the good news. The war is over. Humanity has won. There will be peace in the galaxy for as long as you remember the lessons we taught you. And if we forget? Wei Lin's expression became cold again. Then we will remind you. We have children growing up who never knew the peaceful humanity that tried to join your civilization. They only know the humanity that conquered it. They are faster, stronger, smarter, and infinitely more ruthless than we are. She looked directly at the crystal being. Pray that you never give them a reason to show you what they learned from our example. As the humans left the chamber, the remaining council members sat in silence. Outside, they could hear sounds that had never been heard in this place before. Human children laughing and playing in the corridors of the former Galactic Council building. The crystal being's light finally went out completely. In the darkness, it whispered the words that would become the new truth of the galaxy. We wanted to eliminate the human threat. Instead, we eliminated everything that was not human. We have created a galaxy where only one species matters, where only one voice speaks, where only one will is law. We tried to destroy humanity's future. Instead, we gave them ours. The galaxy belonged to humanity now, not because they had conquered it, but because they had made every other species grateful to be conquered. They had taken the chaos and unpredictability that the aliens had once feared and turned it into a weapon so powerful that their enemies begged to be its victims. Sarah Chen's sacrifice had not been in vain. Her daughter now ruled the galaxy that had killed her mother. And in the end, humanity had won not by becoming better than their enemies, but by becoming everything their enemies had accused them of being, and making those enemies love them. For it, the last stand of humanity had become the first day of the human galaxy.